This is the beautifully named Main Sewage Treatment Playground Park. And no, I am not kidding. And hey there, today is Friday, September 12th. It is 12:26 p.m. and the temperature is about 20 degrees Celsius. And I'm here just south of Eastern Avenue and a street I cannot pronounce. It's a street formerly known as Lower Coxwell. And Beamoak Avenue. The city decided to rename this southern leg a few years ago. And for this one, I'm going to be heading up towards one of the most unique and unusual streets in all of the city. And that would be Craven Road. I last recorded a video up Craven Road back in 2021. And we are in the Leslieville neighborhood. That is Queen Street East. Just up ahead. So I'll cross over to the north side of Queen Street East. And then Craven Road starts in a few blocks to the west. If I sound a bit nasally, yesterday I had a pretty nasty cough and I feel a lot better today, but there's still some remnants of it, so I apologize for that. But I wanted to get out and get some fresh air and get my steps in. So on the north side of Queen Street is Coxwell Avenue. And I think the story goes Lower Coxwell wasn't actually an official name. That's just a name the city had assigned to it. Just to keep things simplistic, I would have just left it as Lower Coxwell. But you do you, Toronto. And just east of here is the Beaches neighborhood. I think that streetcar will be heading to the Neville Park Loop. And this is west along the north side of Queen Street East. And Craven Road is about 3 kilometers or so we should finish up on Danforth Avenue. I'll probably just duck into Coxwell. Isn't that neat? DT Aquarium. And they've got an actual aquarium without a lid just on the sidewalk. It's rather trusting of them. Leslieville is historically a working class neighborhood. But it has gentrified quite a bit in recent years. There's a new development on the south side of the street. And this is Rhodes Avenue, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw a sign saying that. This is one street over from where we're heading. And it ties into the history of Craven Road a bit. There's a good mix of older and some heritage properties in Leslieville and a fair bit of newer infill. And it's really become one of the more desirable neighborhoods over the past few decades in the city. Here we go, Craven Road. And you'll see what I mean when I call it one of the more unusual and unique streets in the city in a moment. As on the east side, you have a lot of homes, many of which are small. Some as little or as small as 500 or so square feet. And some newer laneway style homes have been popping up. And on this side of the street, you have a fence. That was the result of expropriation on the city's part of the properties that back onto the street. But with the street parking, it's almost better to walk on the street itself, but I don't really want to be in the way of any traffic. And there's a look south down to Queen Street. But for much of its history, this street was only about 4.5 meters wide. And it was originally known as Erie Terrace. And over 100 years ago, it would have been just a very narrow dirt laneway. And it was developed to provide a lot of low-cost housing, often for immigrants and laborers. The two neighboring streets on either side were considerably wealthier than the folks who lived on this street. There's some more modern properties. But when the city wanted to widen it over 100 years ago, they had to expropriate the backyards of this street over here. That is Ashdale Avenue. And then they erected the fence to create a sense of separation, because before then, their backyards just backed onto the dirt alleyway, and then they'd have a lot of small houses facing them. There's one of the original smaller homes. Again, a lot of these are only around 500 square feet, which is about the size of a bachelor apartment from the 1960s or 70s. Those, of course, are a lot smaller and newer buildings. So essentially, this fence was erected to separate the rich from the poor. And they almost doubled the width of the street in the process. But over time, one by one, a lot of the tiny homes were replaced and redeveloped, although some of them still remain, as you've seen. Apparently there was a fair bit of trespassing into the backyards of the properties that line the street on the left side, so that was one of the reasons for the fence. As we cross Dundas Street, Coxwell Avenue just being over there to the east. And the fence itself is maintained by the City of Toronto. I remember in 2021 when I walked along this stretch, the artwork on this fence was a lot more prominent. There was a lot of it. I guess these are just the surviving pieces. There's one of those smaller homes. Although that one looks a great deal bigger than 500 square feet. Bobby Bowden, FSU. Let's see if we see any for sale signs on the way. Maybe I can look up. The price of these properties, if we see any for sale. Well, maybe this is what I was thinking of. I spoke too soon. A Wilson CFL ball. I'm almost disappointed that it's not a Spalding. And Craven Road gets interrupted by the rail tracks. There's the northern stretch of it we'll connect to, but I think I'll have to pass through Monarch Park to get there. I did a video through Monarch Park about a month and a half ago. More artwork. Just gonna fix one of my shoelaces. That must be a reference to COVID. But how unique would it be to live on this street? And with housing on only one side and it being a one-way street, you have the benefit of not a lot of through traffic. Sorry, I've got a can of sparkling water in my backpack. You might hear bouncing around a bit. And this looks straight out of Japan. There's another house quite like that in Kensington Market. That might be my favorite one here. And because the street is essentially a laneway itself, it's mostly street parking, as there's no laneway in the back. And we have found ourselves in Little India, the Gerrard Street India Bazaar. Marked crossing. It's a block that way. I'll manage. Looks like a newer property. Scrap this bike will be moved by Friday. Well, it's Friday. They haven't removed it yet. That said by Friday. Back over 100 years ago, there must have been a very stark contrast between those living on this street and those living over there. I think these days the property values are a lot more aligned with one another. Ball and hockey playing prohibited. It's a bit unfortunate. How un-Canadian of you, whoever decided that. I don't think I've seen any for sale signs. Vehicles subject to towing. Something seems a little grammatically off about that. Maybe it's just me. This is Fairford Avenue. And that garage looks like it's attached to the second home up there. Wonder if they at one point bought that portion of the property from the neighboring house. But we're gonna run into a dead end up ahead at the rail tracks. And I think pedestrians are able to carry on. We'll go find out. All right, the rail corridor should be just up ahead. I might have a new candidate for my favorite house. It's a trio of them. So presumably, there's a word I butchered, I'll blame the head cold for that. You used to be able to just carry on Craven Road here all the way up to Danforth. When the rail corridor was built, that kind of severed this part of the neighborhood from the northern half. Or you could follow that pathway over to Coxwell Avenue. But we are going over to Monarch Park. That must be part of someone's backyard. There's chairs down there, a bench. This is where Ashdale Avenue comes to an end. I'm not sure if that resumes on the other side of Monarch Park. I think that would have been a much less interesting walk than this one. Here's the north end of another street. It'd be kind of neat if a train rolled by while we're here. And if you watched the video I recorded through Monarch Park about a month and a half ago, this part might seem familiar. It does not smell too fresh in here at the moment. We'll leave it at that. In that last video I recorded, the swimming pool was in full swing. It is a very different scene right now. The pool is empty. There were a lot of summer camps and that sort of thing going on in the park. But now to head over and resume heading north on Craven Road, and we'll just take that up to Danforth. This park has that swimming pool. There's a skating rink behind it. There's a big off-leash zone for the doggos. There's a stadium just over there that was built in the 1960s, Monarch Park Stadium. And one of the largest schools in the city, Monarch Park Collegiate, is just over there. This area is officially part of Greenwood Coxwell. I think you could also lump it in as part of Danforth Village. Of course, now a train is going by, and we won't get a view of it. This is Monarch Park Avenue. So I think Craven Road will resume in a few blocks. So it's quite the detour we're going on. I think the first homes on Craven Road and most of this area went in the late 1800s to early 1900s. Yeah, this definitely isn't Craven Road. I can't see a street sign. Oh, that is Parkmount Road. So no, Ashdale Avenue doesn't continue, it would seem. If I'm not mistaken, this part of Craven Road wasn't widened. When the city widened the street and added the fence. I think that's because the rail corridor was already in place back then. So this is noticeably narrower. But the homes on this side seem to have backyards that are a bit more shallow. There also seems to be no street parking. So something tells me this wasn't quite like the southern stretch. Although there's a house that looks like it would belong on that stretch. Oh, they have... This parking must be for the homes on Parkmount. Yeah, that one says 117 Parkmount. So the people on this side would park here and then head into their home through the back door. Hey, a for sale sign. Let's see if I can look this up quickly. Two beds, two baths, 859,000. Lot size 1,044 square feet. We've got another one here. Two beds, one bath, 869,000. That one says 700 to 1,000 square feet. And Danforth Avenue lies just ahead. So there we go, all of Craven Road, at least to the best of my knowledge, has been walked. All right, let's head over to Coxwell Station. I was kind of hoping there'd be a break in traffic here. CrossFit, nutrition, personal training. Test ride an e-bike today. And I seem unlikely to make this late. We're here at Danforth and Coxwell. Coxwell, and there's a Coxwell station. You wouldn't know it standing here. Line 2 was built just north of Danforth and Bloor, using a cut and cover method. So most of the stations can only be accessed from the north side. There's a few that do have south side entrances.
I know. Well, like the other day, I guess, I don't know.
Sherburne being one of them, Bloor Young. You could access Bay Street or St. George. But not Spadina, Bathurst, or Christie, so I think that's it.
The TTC takes your safety very seriously in the event of emergency. Speak to a staff member, use the emergency alarm on board the train, or evacuate
I took the Coxwell bus from the station down to where I started recording this one. So it's a full circle moment for me. I believe I just missed a westbound train. There we go. That was a walk north up Craven Road, starting from Eastern Avenue, heading up to Queen, then over to Craven in Leslieville, and all the way up to Danforth. My next train isn't for 4 minutes. But I hope you enjoyed that one. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. If you wish to support what I do, there's links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership down in the description. I've got an Instagram account at Johnny Strides, and there is a super thanks button appearing below if you wish to say thanks that way. Well, I got it all in before the train got all noisy again. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Yoink! Hopefully you heard me there. No big loss if you didn't. This is either a service adjustment or the TTC just doing that thing it likes to do and not run very well. Anywho, thanks for watching, guys.